Hello, hello, hello there, and welcome back to the True Crusade Stories podcast with your girl, Coach Mo, your favorite family finance coach, coming to you live and direct from my studio. As always, listen, can I ask you a quick question? When was the last time you made an emotional purchase? When was the last time that you said that TikTok made you buy it? When was the last time that you wanted just a little pick me up so you went and got something really nice for yourself? Something really good to eat, right? Trust me, I totally understand where you're coming from if that's you, because everybody wants to feel good. Everybody wants to eat something good, right? We don't want to eat bad stuff. We want to eat stuff that tastes good. We want to drive in a reliable vehicle. We want to save money by purchasing something that will be a convenience to us, even though we may not use it. Okay. But at the time, it felt like it would be so convenient. So we purchased it. And the list goes on and on and on. And trust me, I know that many of us can admit to doing a little shopping therapy here and there. But how much is it costing you is the question I have on today. So on today's show, we're going to ask about how making a habit of emotional spending can really cripple your financial goals and plans and what you can do about it. Okay. So, to all of our newbies, before we get started and deep into our conversation today, I want to welcome all of our first time guests. Listen, we want to thank you so much for listening in to the True Crusade Stories podcast. And we hope that something that we talk about on today's show is going to help you to think about and reimagine your finances. So I know for some people, they may say, man, we're already doing great with our money. But these are just little checkpoints, right? These are checkpoints to ensure that we're still on the right track and that we're still making good decisions with our money. We want to give you hope and an opportunity for a future with money that doesn't have to end when you stop working, right? Or when you stop doing your business or whatever that looks like for you. And to all of our frequent flyers, listen, we appreciate you coming back week after week, hanging out with us. And we know that there are so many people out there in social media land sharing their opinion on a daily basis, right? But we want to thank you for tuning into our channel where we focus on the truth and helping people get financially free. Amen. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. Well, let's start out by defining emotional spending, okay? So, emotional spending honestly is a common phenomenon where people make purchasing decisions based on feelings rather than rational analysis. So I want to talk about a few different ways that people do some emotional spendings and why. And if you can agree with this or if this is you, man, share some feedback below. Don't be ashamed, okay? Because we all here to get better and improve. And what I did in my past is not going to dictate what I do in my future, okay? So I want you to feel free to express yourself. And even if you don't want to share all of your dirty details, you can at least say, hey, I understand. Yes, I've been there, or whatever to help our audience because people need to know that they're not alone. Okay. And so one of the first main reasons why people emotionally spend their money is for stress relief. Okay. And so shopping serves as a coping mechanism for negative emotions. So I want to give you some statistics because you know that we are statistic people on this channel. Approximately 62% of shoppers have purchased something to cheer themselves up. Mm. So, in other words, more than half of the people that go out making purchases are only making purchases because they want to be cheered up. My goodness, today. Okay. 49%. 49% of Americans have made impulse purchases to deal with stress. So if I'm not feeling good, If I'm feeling some type of anxiety, if I'm feeling pressure at work, if I'm feeling my relationship is not working out, if I'm feeling that I'm having family issues, if I'm feeling that I'm having issues at the job, then I am going out making an impulse purchase so that I can just feel better for the moment. Oh my goodness. When I put it like that, it sounds different, doesn't it? So here is another one. People make emotional spending decisions for status and social comparison. And at the end of the day, we know it's true. If we look at our social media, we'll see one person buying something and another person buying it and another person buying it and another person buying it and yet another person buying it. And sometimes it's not just because they needed it or it was something that they had planned to do all along, but they are just copying what somebody else is doing. See, back in the day, we didn't have this issue or this problem. Why? Because we didn't have social media. So although there are so many benefits of having social media so that we can communicate with people, in other countries, so we can communicate and keep up with our family and friends who we don't get to see on a daily basis. We have a place where we can see their pictures, right? Do a live video, have people jump on the live. We can do so many different things. We can share words of encouragement and even Bible verses. Like there's so many good benefits of social media. But at the same time, I'm almost positive that it have caused some people to get into a deep depression because they're thinking about what they don't have. They're looking at other people's success and they are envying that success. They want what they have, but they don't realize and always understand what it costs that person to get it. They don't know that the person who purchased that vehicle, right, or moved to a new area, or maybe even that person that just got married just went through absolute hell to get it. See, people don't understand those things, but they see a picture, which is a moment in time, and they're thinking, oh my goodness, I got to keep up. I'm falling behind. Everybody is getting married, so I need to go and get a husband. Everybody is going to get this, so I need to go get that. See, I want to encourage you, don't feel pressured by what you see because seeing is not always the reality, for lack of better words or phrases. What you see is not often or always what it is. And so we cannot get caught up, right, on what we see because what we see can be deceiving. I want to give you some numbers, okay? And so social media users are 46% more likely to make impulse purchases, and 64% of consumers have felt pressure to keep up with their peers' spending habits. So listen, I want you to know something. See, some of those people that we see on social media have had to save money for years to go on a trip. They had to save money for years to make a big purchase. They had to do without a few things so that they could obtain what it is that you see them in today. It's just like people that we see that are, making that last payment on their vehicle and they post, just made my last car payment. And so guess what? It took them time to make that last car payment. It took them years to pay off that vehicle. They had to make some sacrifices. They had to do without. So we see the good side and we see that moment in time, and all of a sudden we want it now. And so we'll do whatever it takes to ensure that we can do the very same thing, but oftentimes hurting ourselves in the process because now I have to pay this thing, right? I have to do this. I have to do that. And maybe this is something that was not beneficial for myself, my family, or even something that God never ordained for me in this season. So we have to be careful in trying to keep up with people because at the end of the day, right? This does not add value to you as a person. This does not make you better. This does not make you, more successful by going out doing something that somebody else is doing. Okay. So I don't want to hone in on that topic, but I'm just saying that's one of the areas. Okay. So another one is temporary happiness. We just talked about that retail therapy. So, as you all may or may not know, I am a financial coach, right? And I deal with people every single day. And some of those people do have challenges with that retail therapy. See, there's nothing wrong with retail therapy if you can afford it. But if that retail therapy, which let me define it, this is shopping that creates a temporary dopamine boost. So, what do I mean by that? I mean that, man, this gives me a high, this gives me a rush. It's like therapy for me. Okay. So, some people, they go to talk to someone. Some people go and smoke a cigarette, right? Some people go have a drink and they get that therapy without going to a therapist. But right here, I'm talking about spending your money. Okay. I'm talking about spending your money to get a false sense of happiness. And so, look, listen to this. The average American spends about $314 per month on impulse buys. Hello. And then turn around and complain about the price of eggs. You know, we talk about eggs on here because eggs are a hot topic right now. Okay. But listen, we complain about stuff, but we go and spend money on impulse purchases because we just need to have it and we need to have it right now. And have you ever made an impulse purchase? Because I know my hand is raised. I know I have, and wanted to return it. Oh, yes, and have. Okay. And would. Yes, I have. And I said, you know what? I didn't need to buy this. And after I got home and thought about it, I turned right back around and returned that thing and didn't care. Because what's more important for me to have a temporary happiness and then have to still pay my bills, but be short on the bills because I went out and made an impulse purchase, or pay my bills and plan for that purchase? See, there's a difference, right? And so we have to be careful that our impulse shopping or those habits that we have created for ourselves, some of us, are not crippling our finances and causing us to take steps backwards when really our goal and what we have purpose in our heart is to take steps forward. I don't know anyone that wants to take steps backwards, definitely in their finances. Okay. 84% of shoppers have made impulse purchases, with 77% reporting they provided immediate mood improvement. Immediate mood improvement. So I went out and bought a pair of shoes and my legs look good in those shoes. So now I feel good about that. I feel good about myself. See, these are the things that some people are doing, right? And if that is you, I want to help you with that, because what we need to be focusing on is the long game, not just the short game, but the long game, the long run. And if you ever plan to retire, and if you ever plan to have money for your future, trust me when I tell you, you can't spend it all up in today feeling good. Because there may come a time where you don't have the money to feel good. So now what do you lean into? What is your source? Right? Where do you go if you need to feel better? If you need to feel some joy in your life, where do you go if you don't have the money to spend? Okay. So I'm going to give you another one: celebration or reward. I've done something well, so I'm going to treat myself and I'm going to splurge, right? I've worked all week long, so I'm going to go ahead and spend $100 on a steak dinner because I worked hard, so I deserve to eat hard and play hard. How many times a month are you playing hard and you're hardly saving? See, that's a real question for real people. I want real people to chime in and tell me, right? Because at the end of the day, if you say, I want to be a millionaire, I want to have $100,000 saved in my emergency fund, I want to retire at 67, I want to do X, Y, and Z, but then we are taking absolutely zero steps to get where we want to go. It's insanity. It's crazy. And after you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, that's when we make a decision to do something different. And oftentimes, I don't know why it's human nature, but when our back is against the wall, that's when we want to do right. That's when we want to change our direction and do that 180 so we can do something different and get some different results. But if we don't nip this emotional spending in the bud, it can be 20 or 30 years. And to think that some of us think that it's a wonderful thing, or it's nice, or it's something that's even brag worthy, and saying, hey, listen, I have brown boxes coming to my house on a regular. I got Amazon boxes coming to my house on a regular. If you don't have money saved, baby, that's not cute. That's not what you want to do. I would much rather, right? You say, listen, I have some brown boxes coming to my house, but I make sure that it's in the budget. And you're going to hear Coach Mo say this all the time. A budget is not a bad word. A budget is not to restrict you. A budget is to keep you on track, to keep you focused on your goals. Okay? So let's read about this celebration or reward. So people often justify splurging as a deserved reward, as I mentioned. So 73% of consumers report making celebratory purchases after achievements. And listen, you guys, nothing wrong with treating yourself after you have accomplished a big goal. But listen, you need to plan for that. So if you believe this is just an idea. If you absolutely believe that you are going to accomplish your goal, right? Then start putting money to the side for it. See, that's having skin in the game. If you say, when I hit this major milestone, I'm going to take myself on a trip. If you actually believe that you're going to hit the milestone, start putting money away monthly because you know that you're going to hit your milestone. See, that's having skin in the game. That's putting money where your mouth is. That's saying, you know what, I know I'm going to do this. So I'm going to put this money to the side. And if you don't do it, then you don't spend the money and you try it again, right? So now not only will you have had money saved, but you even have an opportunity to save a little bit more money. The average reward purchase is 65% more expensive than a planned purchase. So again, what you heard me say is plan for those reward purchases. Don't just take it out of your mortgage. Don't just take it out of your electric bill. Don't just take it out of your grocery bill and just say, well, I'm just going to go ahead and do it because I said I was going to do it. No, but you also said that you were going to pay those bills, right? So we got to be so careful to make sure that we keeping things in the proper perspective and that we're not contradicting our own brains. If we truly believe, right, that one day we're going to be wealthy, that one day we're going to be able to pay off our house, that one day we're going to be able to send our kids to college, we can't just go out and spending our money on these splurges because splurges add up. And when you count up the costs of all the splurges, and if you actually looked and checked your bank account, if you're swiping or tapping that card, you get to see. You get to see and face the facts on where you are, right? Because at the end of the day, our own best thinking got us where we are today. And if you are not happy and excited and pumped up about where you are today, it's time to change that. So, this is another one that I'll share. This is the fear of missing out, FOMO. Okay. I want to get it because everybody is doing it, and I want to make sure I stay on trend. On trend is not going to have me poor. Okay. On trend is not going to have me eating bologna. Seriously. Now, this is no disrespect to anybody eating bologna, but if bologna is not your taste or in your refrigerator on a daily basis, are you just going to go ahead and get something just simply because you think that it's a good deal? Honey, if it's meant for you, you will have the money to get it. Or God will provide a way for you to get it, but don't you dare use your last dollar, and God never told you to use your last dollar on that. See, I believe in faith, and I believe that faith without works is dead because we do believe in Jesus Christ on this channel. But at the same time, you better use some wisdom because 60% of millennials make reactive purchases due to FOMO, fear of missing out. And what is that? Time limited sales create urgency and anxiety. There's always a company that's going to say, "Hey, this is a short it's a short inventory. You got to get it now because we're never going to sell this again. You need to get this today because we don't know when we're going to get it back in stock." So now everybody rushes to the cashier to pay for this item. Everybody rushes to add it to their cart. And even when you go on the website says, "Hey, listen, you only have so much time before we release this back into inventory. So you have so much time to purchase this before it could be gone." It's all of these things that's adding up to that FOMO, right? So that limited time offer increased conversion rates by an average of 27%. When somebody says limited edition, that is a marketing strategy. Did you guys know that? Because they can make as many of that item as they want it. Definitely if it's a hot seller. So of course, they'll throw something out there saying that this is a limited edition. And guess what? It'll be out of stock and it'll be back in stock because they saw how well it sold. Let's think it through, you guys, because people went to school for advertising, for marketing. They know what they're doing. And they know how to do what? Play on your emotions. Yes, they do. They know how to plan on your emotions. But I want to talk about a couple of other things and we're going to wrap up this conversation. And I really hope that you're getting something out of this. We just got to think about it, and trust me, I know I am guilty. I can't say that we all are, but I would say 70% of people are. Because guess what? Here's my next point. Emotional spending often leads to a financial regret, with 70% of emotional shoppers reporting buyer's remorse. I wish I never purchased this. See, because there are some things that you can go on purchase and you can't return it. If you wait too long, you can't return it. What about if you go and buy something and it says no refunds, but it was an emotional purchase and you're caught and you're left holding the bag, but you truly didn't think about what would happen if you didn't buy it. Was it going to kill you if you didn't buy it? Was it going to make your life um worse off if you didn't buy it? See, we think about missing out on things, but we don't often think about what if I do buy it? What does that look like? We're just so hyped up in the moment and we just go ahead and cha-ching, we tap that card, right? We put in our pin. We out the door. We get home. We take it out. We look at it. And for some of us, we don't even use it right away. 30 days later, 31 days later, we think about it. We're like, okay, wait a minute, let me take it back. Well, guess what? The 30 days is up. You can no longer refund this. You can no longer return this. And now you're stuck with it. And you have the regret. And you're not going to use it. Now you got it on, marketplace trying to sell it. We got to start thinking this through, y'all. Okay. So here's another thing. There is a huge rise of the one click purchases. Okay. All you got to do is one click, and we're going to ship it to you with your default payment method. And we're also going to not even ask you any details. We're going to go off of the last address that you had on file, and we're just going to ship it out to you. We got to be so careful because the internet has made it really easy for us to purchase anything. All we have to do is click on a link. You know, it's bad enough that computers want to save our payment information because they give us that option now. So just making it really easy. You can't find your card? No problem. We'll just go ahead and save that information for you. Is this the card you want to use? All you have to do is verify your, you know, zip code or whatever it is that they have us do. And now we are purchasing it and that money is spent. That money is gone. Okay. So even if you decided to change your mind, that money is still out of your account. So whatever the repercussions of you spending the money that you didn't have, you're going to experience that until you're able to return it if you can return it. So we got to be careful. And so financial anxiety, as we already talked about, creates a destructive cycle where stress leads to emotional spending and creating more financial stress. So the very thing that you were trying to alleviate, which was to relieve stress, right? To relieve depression, to relieve anxiety, is now causing more stress because you didn't have the money to do it. So that's a huge issue. Okay. That's a huge problem. And so we want to be careful of our emotional triggers and the things that will cause us to just go ahead and do it. So there are some things, as I would like to say, that you need to do right away, like life insurance. So life insurance is not something that, if you are thinking about getting your family properly protected, that you want to wait 30 days to think about. Because if you are not properly protected in 30 days and you die, guess what? Guess what doesn't happen? Your family doesn't get anything if you don't have any money saved. So it's interesting how we can go out and spend money on the things that we don't need and don't think about it, don't pray about it, nothing. But when it comes time for us to do something that's meaningful, that's going to add value to our lives, those are the things that we have to take a moment and pause. Why do you think that is? See, it's time for us to turn this thing around and be doing things decent and in order. That's the way that God requires us to do things, right? Decent and in order. And so I want to just share just a couple of scriptures about money because it's important for us to know that yes, money does answer all things, but at the end of the day, we have to tell our money what to answer so that we are not answering the wrong things later, okay, ourselves. Like answering the phone because your boss is like, why you're not at work and you're 70 years old and you want to stay home and chill, but you're supposed to be there. Now you got to answer that call. Nobody wants that. Because quite honestly, most of us want to retire at some point in our lives, but we need to plan our expenses as much as possible, plan for the unknown, right? Emergencies, and plan, right? To spend money on large purchases or even things where you're going to reward yourself. But we have to find other outlets to help us to cope with the things that we have going on in our lives. And that can be something as small as having a conversation with somebody that you love, like, or trust. That's a good starting point. Okay. Just getting it out there, venting. All right. In addition, praying, just praying to God, right? Telling him all about your problems, telling him all about your struggles, telling him all about what you have going on, because God can do all things. And sometimes we leave it in what's the word I'm looking for? We leave it to an object that can't talk back to us, to an object that can't help us at all, right? We leave it up to the object, but we don't go to the creator. And I want to encourage you that we need to start focusing in on the creator because that stuff can't give us any joy. It's all temporary. It's all temporary. So if you want a temporary feel, if you want a temporary rejuvenation, if you want to feel temporarily good for a moment, then you put your trust in things. So I understand there are things that we can take advantage of, but what we're talking about right now is emotional spending, and that emotional spending becoming very damaging to our financial stability. And so First Timothy 6 and 10, and this is a different version, but it says, for the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. Some people eager for money have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. Okay. So just buying different things or putting your trust in money, loving what money can do. Money is a tool, as we mentioned, right? And so, yes, there are things that money can do. And the Bible talks about money is the root of all kinds of evil. So we understand that money has its place in our life, but we have to be very careful because our money can go to purchase things that mean us no earthly good. So we have to be very careful and strategic to ensure that what we're doing is actually going to add value to our lives. Because there's some things that we can purchase that will cause us to go to spiral. Okay. Another thing is Matthew, the sixth chapter, verses 19. It says, "Do not store up for yourself treasures on earth where moths and vermin destroy and where thieves break in and steal." Okay. Do not store up for yourself treasures on earth because, earth is going to pass away. This will not remain. But we understand only the word of God will remain. And so we want to ensure, right, that we are not putting our trust in things, but we are putting our trust in God. Because these things will get tired. They will dry up. Okay. They will fail us. They will stop working. They will stop shining, whatever it is. It is temporary. And these things are going away at some point in time. Hebrews 13 and 5, it says, "Keep your lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have." See, it's the love of money that's the issue. It's not the money itself, but it is the love of money. So I don't love money, but I appreciate what money can do. Okay. I appreciate the resources that can come from money, but I don't love money. That's a problem if I do, right? So, in closing, I want to talk about some things that we can do or how we can count up the cost when it comes to our emotional spending. All right. And so these are some of the things that you can do instead of emotional spending. And so financial security. A year's worth of emotional spending could fully fund an emergency fund for most households. If we counted up everyone's emotional spending in the house, it could likely fully fund my emergency fund. So what is my emergency fund? An emergency fund is approximately 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses that is saved up for emergencies. That's all it is. And so you could potentially save 3 to 6 months worth of your living expenses simply by cutting out the emotional spending. How would that improve the quality of your life? Okay. Let's look at education. So, 5 years of redirected emotional spending could pay for a bachelor's degree at many public universities. Oh my goodness. Counting up the cost, all right? And so, here is another one, home ownership. 10 years of saved emotional spending funds could provide a down payment on a median priced home. And as a mortgage loan officer, I can definitely tell you that this is absolutely true. So it really depends on how much money you are spending, right? And retirement acceleration. Eliminating emotional spending could allow many Americans to retire 3 to 7 years earlier. So, see, the choice is yours. The choice is honestly yours. It's ours, right? The choice is ours to make. And we have to always think about what is the end result of my action today? What am I working towards? Am I writing down my goals twice a day so that I can actually accomplish my goals? Because guess what? People who see their goals multiple times a day, are about 90% more susceptible or more on track to accomplish their goals than people who don't write their goals down twice a day and people who don't revisit their goals twice a day. Some people only look at their goals once a year, and that's around the new year. And outside of that, they're not looking at their goals. They may be thinking about it, but they're not keeping it in front of them. So we have to keep these things in front of us. And that's why it's important that we remain consistent. on this podcast and post every single week if the Lord says the same, because we need to do better with our money. We all need to level up, right? This is the time, this is the season, this is the year for us to level up, because we see what's happening in the world and we know that we cannot be consumers only. But we need to be owners, right? We need to be owners of some property. We need to be owners of some businesses. We need to be owners of some real estate. And I don't own if I'm still renting, do I? Right? I don't own if it's not in my name. So let's get some things in our name, all right? And so that is all I got for you guys for today. So I hope that you found value added to your life, and just hearing us talk about emotional spending. Did this touch you today? Did it tug on your heartstrings and cause you to think a little bit differently about your finances? Because I pray that it did, right? And so I pray that you all have an amazing, phenomenal remainder of your day. And remember that we'll be back, if the Lord says the same, next Friday with another crusade story. And if you need to contact me for any reason, I want you to send me an email at Coach Mo at trueresilience.net. And again, that is Coach Mo. So that's Coach Mo, M-O, at truresilience.net, where you can reach out. We can schedule a consultation and we can talk about your money and your goals. And so be safe, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.